themselves in a state he termed psychological stagnation. They have effectively made complaining their primary occupation. Even if one were to move mountains for them, they would likely find fault with the view. Jung posited that this behavior transcends mere negativity. It serves as a defense mechanism, shielding them from growth, change, and the acceptance of responsibility for their own lives. The presumptuous individual Carl Jung posited that entitlement manifests as a psychological disorder cloaked in the guise of confidence. Individuals exhibiting this trait do not seek assistance. Rather, they assertively demand it, as though the universe is indebted to them. However, Jung's revelations fundamentally altered our comprehension of entitlement. Individuals failed to cultivate what he termed psychological reciprocity. The fundamental comprehension that relationships necessitate reciprocity indicates a certain immaturity in their perspective. It is a fallacy to assume that the universe is centered on one's own desires. Assistance rendered often goes unacknowledged, devoid of gratitude, appreciation, or any semblance of personal development. Jung would suggest that they are functioning from their least developed aspect, which hinders their ability to perceive others as equals. Classify as for the consistent deceiver Carl Jung made a revelation regarding falsehoods that will transform your perception of deception indefinitely. Jung posited that habitual deceivers do not merely mislead others. They engage in self-deception to such an extent that they become detached from reality. They construct what Jung referred to as false personas, entirely founded on fabrication, as per Carl Jung's insights. These individuals become so ensnared in their intricate fabrications that they can no longer discern reality from illusion. When one attempts to assist based on their narratives, the endeavor does not aid a genuine individual, but rather a construct of their own making. Jung elucidated that this particular form of psychological dysfunction is exceedingly challenging to remedy, as the individual must first confront reality, something they have conditioned themselves to evade. Type 5, the opportunist. Carl Jung posited that opportunists endure what he termed psychological parasitism, having adapted to survive by latching onto the energy and resources of others. What Jung discovered regarding their method of operation is profoundly unsettling. In accordance with the insights of Carl Jung, opportunists are adept manipulators who scrutinize their targets with the precision of a scientist examining specimens. They possess an acute awareness of which buttons to press, which aspirations to invoke, and which weaknesses to leverage. It has come to light that certain individuals perceive others not as fellow human beings, but rather as mere resources to be exploited. They may articulate visions of shared success, all the while covertly devising their own escape plans. The most unsettling aspect is that these individuals are frequently those who are nearest to you. The theatrical pursuer. Jung posited that certain individuals develop an addiction to chaos, as it is the sole moment they experience a genuine sense of vitality. He termed this phenomenon neurotic excitement dependency. However, Carl Jung's findings on those who seek drama reveal an overlooked truth. These individuals are not mere victims of chaos. Rather, they are its architects. They unwittingly orchestrate one crisis after another, as psychological turbulence has evolved into their preferred stimulant. Carl Jung articulated that assisting an individual who seeks drama resembles the endeavor of pacifying a tempest that they are deliberately conjuring. It is futile to instill tranquility in someone who is ensnared in conflict, particularly when that conflict is directed inwardly. Type 7, the seeker Carl Jung made an insightful observation regarding takers that will profoundly alter your perspective on one-sided relationships. Jung uncovered that takers are not merely selfish, they're psychologically deficient. According to Carl Jung, they have failed to cultivate what he referred to as the reciprocity function, the fundamental human capacity to engage in a balanced exchange of giving and receiving. Carl Jung posited that those who take often emerge from a state of psychological deprivation, perpetually yearning perpetually unfulfilled and perpetually in search of more. Yet, herein lies a profound irony. Jung revealed that the more one offers, the more they seem to drain. They resemble psychological voids, absorbing all that surrounds them while contributing nothing in return. Individuals may express a sense of entrapment within their shadow selves, engaging in actions devoid of conscience and gratitude. The archetype of the manipulator, as delineated by Carl Jung, reveals a profound insight into human nature. Jung posits that manipulators seek not merely assistance, but rather a psychological capitulation. He identifies this behavior as stemming from what he terms the power complex, an unconscious impetus to dominate and exert control over others. Carl Jung elucidated that manipulators function as psychological predators, preying upon the guilt, empathy, and kindness of others. They do not perceive kindness as a virtue. Rather, they regard it as a vulnerability to be exploited. Jung articulated that assisting a manipulator resembles nourishing a psychological parasite. The more one provides, the more formidable they become, while the giver diminishes in strength. They deplete not only your resources, but also your intrinsic sense of self. However, the most crucial aspect remains.